What's up, guys? How are you guys doing today? Let me get something set up over here. What's up, Jose? How you doing? Doing good? You eating today? What you having for dinner? What's on the menu? Okay, cool. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Right. Come on. There we go. Ooh, yeah. What kind of Chinese food though? I'm like such a fan of what is it? There's like a spicy beef. Is that Hunan beef? Szechuan beef, I think. It's delicious. Huevos con salchicha burritos. Oh, so is it like chorizo or just like sausages? Mel's having eggs and hot dogs. Ah, weenies, little weenies. Hey, you know what? That's something, well, I grew up a little, so I'm actually half Mexican, and, but I grew up in Michigan, and there wasn't really a big Mexican community out there. And so I didn't know that eggs and hot dogs were kind of a thing, for breakfast in like Mexico. And I didn't even know really hot dogs were a thing there. And, but as a kid, what I would eat was, eggs and fried bologna, like, or you just cook up bologna or just chop it up and toss it in with your eggs. So it's very similar, just not hot dogs. But as an adult, I've had that before. I just made the other day, like eggs and tostadas, or an egg tostada for breakfast was so good. So moving out here, it was very much a I wouldn't say culture shock, but like I got to understand my own culture a little bit more. To receive the most current updates. Huh. Okay. Let's restart in an hour. Remind me that then. I won't do that. Homemade Chinese food. Ooh. Jose, what did you make? Did you just kind of like a stir fry? My wife and I are big fans of Vietnamese food, and we make our own homemade pho, and it is so good. I'm a big Thai food fan, Vietnamese food, just in general, Filipino food. My best friend growing up was Filipino, and her family introduced me to a lot of Filipino cuisine, which is delicious. So, I'm never going to turn down food. Noodles, chicken, shrimp, broccoli, and carrots. That sounds great. Multiple proteins, some vegetables in there. Sounds good to me. Tonight we're having butter chicken. So Indian food tonight for dinner, which I'm excited about. All right, cool. Well, I'll stop talking about food because y'all are making me hungry. But I like to know that you guys are like filling your stomachs when you watch these. It makes me feel good. Nothing like eating makes you feel better. So, build up those endorphins and have fun watching this. So today we're actually going to be starting a new project. And last week's participation question that was due yesterday kind of, I wanted you guys to start thinking of infographics, right? Because this is something that animators in the advertising and marketing field, or just like a lot of freelance animators, end up creating animated infographics for companies. I do these all of the time. And it just basically delivers information in a visual way, right? Short cartoon. That's how I think of it. Or a very short form animation, right? These can range from a minute to a few minutes long. They're not super, they're not long form videos. They're meant to be done quickly, but they're meant to just deliver information in a visually digestible form. And so, everything that we've created so far, especially in After Effects, is, let me close this. I'm getting bombarded by stuff on my iPad. Is, preparing you to essentially create something very similar to that, right? So that's what we're going to be doing this week, is we're going to create like a very short infographic, right? And it's going to prep you for the next project that we're going to do after this. And so we're going to be creating this animation right here, and this has been
Every winter,
in
monarch butterflies migrate
the
from North
works
America
for a
to
while.
Latin America. Monarchs use a combination
Turn this up a
of
little
air
bit.
currents and thermals to travel thousands of miles.
There you go. That's okay, Mel. If you just forget one or two participation questions, it's not going to be a big deal. If you're missing multiple, then like that's when things become an issue. But just missing one, I know we haven't had one recently. We do have another one that I just posted today, by the way, that's due next Monday night. So make sure you get that done. But yeah, so this has been, like I said, it's been a project that we've done for the past couple semesters, and it's a great introduction in how to kind of tie different scenes together, because animated infographics are made up of separate scenes. So in this one, you're going to have 3 separate scenes. When we watch through this video, let me go ahead and pause this, and you guys can download this to be able to watch it and break it down in a more digestible form if you need to bring it into like After Effects or something. So the first scene that we have is
Every winter,
this kind of icon of a butterfly that pops onto the screen, and the butterfly is flapping its wings. And then this icon is going to grow out upwards, like it's going to scale upwards, and it's revealing the next scene. So we have like a reveal where we have this, we have the same icon, right? So we're going to be reusing assets, which is something that we do often in this field. But they're following along this path, and along this path there is lines that are also following along it. And so it's showing the migration pattern of the monarch butterfly.
Monarchs use a combination of air currents and thermals to travel thousands of miles.
And then in the final scene, we have noticed that there is going to be, when we switch from this scene, let me get back here. Actually, let me download this. It will be easier to look at inside of. Let me see. I thought I could download it. Yeah, you can. It'll be easier to look at inside of After Effects here, because I can stop it and break it down. So let me just do that real quick. Let's see here. Where am I looking? Desktop, GCC. I've already made a project folder for this project here, so I'm just going to pop this under assets, and actually, let's see, footage. That's the one I wanted to put it under. And let's bring that into, let's open an After Effects file. Are you guys, question for you who have new computers or are using the computers that GCC provided, are they using Windows 11 yet, or are they still on Windows 10? Like if that's for the GCC computers, if you guys are using it, or if you're using your own PC, are you guys using Windows 11 or 10? I'm curious to see, like, I want to know how many students are starting to transition over. Also, here is something I had a student write me about over the weekend. So, when you have an update to After Effects, which happens often, a lot of these Adobe products run updates pretty frequently throughout the year. They will ask you if you want to migrate settings from the previous one over to this one. That's going to migrate things like any kind of personal presets you put in there, workspaces that you save that are personal, anything like that. And so you can do that if you want to. You don't have to. You can say do not migrate that over. You can say you want to migrate it over to After Effects 24.2. We were in 24.1. I always just say migrate everything over because it's easier. There's another thing. I've had a student have problem with, I don't know where the update had an issue, but if you guys are having problems where you're running an update and then you're having an issue opening a project or something, let me know. Because what you can do is you can revert back to previous versions of After Effects. In fact, let me show that how you guys can do that really quickly. I want to open Creative Cloud. So, which is the management, right? This is the manager app, kind of like Maxon has a manager app. This is the management app for all the Adobe products. And when you open this up, you will see like a list of all of your installed apps. If you come over here to the side, if it doesn't default here, you just click apps right there in all apps and it'll show you the ones you have installed. Now, if you're having troubles opening or dealing with apps having trouble migrating stuff over, what you can do is you can uninstall it by clicking these three little dots next to the app that you're wanting to do. And then you can select other versions and you can go back to previous versions of the app. So, if you're having any issues where you made the update, it's like crashing some of your files or something, I would recommend doing this. I would recommend uninstalling the app, going back here and installing a very specific app that you had previous or the one that you just recently did. So for me, it would be the 24.1. So I would want to uninstall that. I would just uninstall from the 24.2. Or it looks like that's the one I had before, and now it's at 24.3. But these, there's tons and tons of versions that come out all the time. And sometimes you will have bugs, right? Or different kind of issues with those. And it's a pain, but that is one way to fix it if that's an issue that you're running into. Mel says you're using 10. Your techie husband said 11 is not good. Yeah, it's all right. That's what's updated on here right now, and if you want to keep 10 for a while, that's perfectly fine. I mean, it's just I haven't run into too many issues using Windows 11, but just getting used to kind of different layouts of it and stuff is what I'm dealing with right now. But let's create a new project here. I want to save this. We're going to file, save as. Let's go to desktop, to that project that I created. I just named it 3-Scene Monarch because that's what we're doing. And let me go to, I'm saving this file, right? So I want to do this. I'm just going to say my name. Kara _ 3-Scene Monarch. Now, when you're creating this, the butterfly does specifically have to be a monarch butterfly, okay? I've had students in the past want to do different butterflies, but because the voiceover is talking specifically about monarch butterflies, you will have to do a monarch butterfly. So making sure that the color is accurate, making sure that the shape of the butterfly and the look of the butterfly is pretty on point, and we can just tell right away that it's a monarch butterfly is all that you guys need to know moving forward. So there's no questions, right? You can't do other butterflies right now because this is specifically about monarchs. And if you show like some other kind of moth or something along with it or some weird patterning, it's just not going to make sense. When you're creating things like animated infographics, matching the visuals up to what the audio says is very important. In this project, we're introducing audio. So, you got to stick with what the plan is. I'm going to create a new folder, name this one comps, and create another new folder and name this one assets. And we're going to need a new folder named audio. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to import that video that I just downloaded. Today we're going to be working in Illustrator and creating the monarch, or at least mostly talking about it and getting it kind of prepped. Where did I put it? I put it under footage. This one right here. Importing it as footage because it is a video. And I'm going to double click on this and we're going to play through it and we're going to kind of look at this and break it down a little bit more.
Monarch butterflies.
So right here,
from North America to Latin America.
You see that kind of transition of a circle that comes up and it wipes out that previous scene here of the migration pattern, and it moves into this new scene where we kind of have what we call a kaleidoscope of butterflies, right? That are flying across the scene. And, there's a whole bunch of butterflies on scene here in the scene. So a couple things that we're going to do real quick first is we're going to break down these scenes. I'm going to look through them with you. We're going to talk about assets that we're going to have to create. Maybe make a list of those assets. So I think maybe having some kind of notation app right now would be a good idea, or just pencil and paper if that works for you guys. And we're going to be talking about like what we're seeing within this video. I want to spend more time like breaking this down so you guys can understand and know what you're going to have to be doing to create this whole thing, right? And then we're going to be starting the illustration process. I'm going to talk to you guys about a few new tools that you can use inside of Adobe Illustrator. There is, if we look here, there's multiple files that I have for you guys to download, and this is a zip folder. Inside of this zip folder, when you extract everything, you'll have 2 audio files and an Illustrator file. One of the Illustrator files that I have provided for you guys is the map of the United States. Now, this is not easy to draw, so that's why I've provided for you guys a map that's ready to pretty much go, and you guys can change a color. We'll talk about doing that. The other thing that's provided is the voiceover from our very talented voiceover actor, Dr. Casey Farina, who's also an instructor here at GCC. He's got a very smooth, great voice, and that's why I keep it in here. I know my voice has kind of sometimes that Midwest A in it, and so I'm not the best at. I'm kind of nasally. I don't have great VO talent, so I like to keep his in here, but and then we also have music in the background too. So when you listen to it, if you're listening,
from North America to Latin America. Monarchs use a combination.
We've got audio. We've got 2 different kinds of audio in here. And so when putting audio together, it's really important that we're balancing the volumes, or decibels is what they're called, inside of any kind of video, right? Because we don't want the music to compete with what the voiceover is saying. Whenever you're looking at any kind of video or listening to any kind of video, movie, infographics, anything like that, if there is a voiceover, that should be the most prominent thing that you're listening to, right? You don't want to hear like some thumping crazy music that's like pulling the attention from what is being said. That's really distracting, and then it just kind of ruins all that work that you have done with a voiceover actor. So we're going to be talking about how to balance that audio as well. here's some skills and tips that you guys, like a quick list of them that you're going to learn throughout this project and things to remember. And I just have this list on here for things for you to refer back to if you have any questions about, hey, what is it? That, there's a lot of stuff, just kind of like notes and tips and stuff for you guys. So there's some Illustrator skills here that we'll talk about. A couple of these, the clipping mask and the compound path, you're going to see how to do in this video here with Dr. Farina, where he's taught how to use some different tools here. I'm going to teach you guys how to use like the eraser tool, the width tool as well, so some other things. Everyone is comfortable working with different tools inside of different illustration programs, and so if you guys are more interested in seeing some alternate tools, you can watch his video, and then I also have a video here of the past if you guys want to watch a previous one. Let me turn on my one second here. There we go. I don't know why this doesn't auto start for me. There we go. All right. Yes, so illustration, like illustrate using Adobe Illustrator here with me, some different tools and tips, and then some from Dr. Farina. So you can watch either one if you guys want to. This is some animation lessons. So past classes that we have done this project. So there's an overview, there's a video on how to work with your audio, and then setting up the butterfly illustration in After Effects, and then animating that, right? And then there's also some alternate past classes that I've taught where it's the same information, just different class. So if you guys want to go through and watch those to see different things, you can, but mostly in general, everything's going to be the same. And then these are bonus material stuff right here. So using parallax, adding wiggle to the butterfly, which is also in this video, and then how to animate grass, right? So some people want to add grass into their one scene. We'll talk about that a little bit more when it comes to breaking down the video and what you're going to deliver. So this is pretty much the most important thing that you are going to want to make sure you have, right? One single MP4 is submitted into Canvas, and it will contain the following 3 animated butterfly scenes: an icon scene of the monarch butterfly within a circle, the butterflies moving over a map of North America with, this is a big one, the animated paths, okay? And then a kaleidoscope of butterflies is your final scene, which is going to be flying past like a nature background, which you're going to create. And you're going to make sure that the paths of the butterflies are offset, so the animations are happening at different times, right? And that the butterflies range in scale, so they don't look all the same size. At the end, you will have a, oops, sorry about that, you guys. At the end, there will be, not that one. There we go. You'll have credits with your name, and it will also have in the video music, the voiceover, and it has to be, of course, as always, 1920 by 1080 at 24 frames a second. So, pretty similar on everything. If you guys have some questions, here's the rubric to know how I will grade it. As far as grading goes, I know I'm very behind with that, and I apologize to you guys. I've had some rush projects the past couple weeks, and no excuses, but I'll get that done for you guys, I promise. Any questions before we start kind of breaking this video down? I'm going to download this assets folder right here, show you guys how to do that. We will open this up. I'm going to right click and extract everything first. Let's delete that right there. And inside of here, we have several different things, which I'm going to move. Let's open this one right here. Great. So let's go back. All right, we have audio. Let me open my audio folder. I have two different kinds. I have music, which I'm going to drag over into my music folder. And then I have a processed voiceover, which I'm going to drop in my VO. And then I'm going to go back and into assets. And I have a vector drawing of North America, which I'm going to drag into my vector folder. And then I can just go into this downloads and delete this empty folder now. Just stayed for the intro. I have to go do an art history quiz and assignment. Have a nice night. Yeah, not a problem. You have a nice night as well, Mel. And I'll talk to you next class, okay? Good luck on your quiz. Have fun in the art history one. I like that. I loved art history class. I took that at GCC, actually. So, all right. So let's go ahead and get started. The other thing that I did is I went through, and you can just type in Monarch Butterfly, and you guys can, do they have different colored monarchs? Monarch Butterfly. No, I didn't think so. I thought it was just a myth. But going in here and selecting Monarch Butterfly, and just picking a reference. In general, the reference that you're going to want to pick will be something where the wingspan is open and not closed. So I would probably stay away from references that look like this, and I would stick to references that look something like this, right? So that you can get an idea of what the entirety of the not only wing looks like, but also the body here, right? And the best thing about monarch butterflies, or just butterflies in general, is that they are very symmetrical. And so we will really only have to create one side of the wing, and then the other wing will just essentially duplicate, right? And so we have half the work to do when it comes to creating these butterflies. I'm going to Google... Come on. No, they're all orange. 3 species. Oh, okay. But because, so there are different species, but because we're talking about North American ones right here, we need to make sure that we're looking up these ones, which are always going to be the orange ones. So they have to be orange. Okay. They can't be the other ones, since there are a few different species of them. Let me copy that and see what that one looks like directly, but I'm pretty sure I know. Yes, okay. So making sure that your monarch butterfly looks something similar to this, right? So there's kind of like some different variations of orange and stuff in here, but you still have, it's an orange butterfly. All right, so that is the module. I'm going to close that now. I'm going to, let's put our assets into, let's bring what we just brought in, what we just saved into here. So I'm going to go to my audio folder, and I'm going to hit Control or Command I to import. And then I'm going to go to the audio folder and music, and I'm going to import that. Footage is fine. Import it like that. And then I'm going to also, you can even create a separate folder that says music, and I can drop that down in there. And then another folder that says VO, voiceover. And the reason I do that, I usually do this, is because a lot of clients, when you go to create videos, they might have different forms of music that they like to use, or sometimes they have what's called a voiceover pickup, where maybe in the voiceover it doesn't sound great in a certain spot and they want the voiceover artist to say something differently or pronounce something in a specific way. And so you'll have what's called pickups, where they will just re-record another version of maybe that section, and then you can just import it into here, right? Because the biggest thing is you don't want to work in a destructive way, which means don't delete things, okay? Just leave them in there and just add onto it. Even if a client asks you to take something out of a composition that you have or in a scene that you have, just shut the layer off. Don't delete the layer and delete all that work, because I have had clients who are like, I don't like that. And then a couple rounds of edits later, they're like, well, let's redo what you had before. And so, you know, you have to do all that work before, and it adds time to the project and it's a pain, versus if you just turn it a layer on and off, you have the layer there always, and it's just a super quick, just on switch, essentially, right? So I'm going to save this. I've got that all imported. We'll deal with the map of North America in a little bit. So let's go ahead and break this video down here. I will let you guys have, like, the biggest thing is consistency with the color palette. Now, the Monarch butterfly has to be orange. We just discussed that, right? So that is a done deal, set in stone. Now, the rest of the coloring of the video can be up to you, right? So in the past, it's been gray and just orange, like a gradient of orange, and then this scene obviously is more complex, so there's different colors added into it. But you can have different background color, you can have a different circular color, just making sure that you're thinking about contrast and you're thinking about saturation and all of those things that come with picking colors. Maybe you choose a color palette from the color thing online that I've told you guys about, the color website, right? And so we have this butterfly popping up in the scene. So this you can see if we go frame by frame in here. If I hit control and arrow over, you can go frame by frame. And we can see that this circle essentially pops in. When we start the video, there's nothing on screen. This is probably the biggest issue that students have in the beginning is we'll start the video and you can already see the butterfly. We don't want that. We want it to just kind of, it needs to somehow come on scene. So right here, the butterfly just pops into the scene, and then the whole icon scales up, and the butterfly flaps its wings a couple times. So I'm just gonna kind of go through, and then we have a scaling up of that circle again. Now, we just learned about rigging and connecting layers together, so you guys can kind of see that this butterfly is connected with the circle. There's a couple ways to do that. You can do that through rigging if you want to. We will probably create a separate composition and use it that way. And then that scales all the way up, and also you can tell there's an opacity change happening here. So it's not only scaling up, but it's also fading out at the same time. And then as that happens to reveal the next scene, which is our North America scene, where the you can also see that these little icons are again scaling into the scene, and they are also animated. Check it out. Like, you can see the butterfly wing flapping is still happening, and at the same time there's a couple different things happening here as I go through as far as animation. Not only are these icons still have the animated butterfly in the inside, all right? So we're going to reuse that asset that we did for the first scene for this one, but it is following along this path. And there's a kind of line, just like a path that's being revealed behind it. And at the same time, simultaneously, we have the scene scaling out, right? So we're dollying out of the scene to reveal a larger map of North America. And these butterflies are going all the way down to, Central America right now. They're kind of migrating. That migration pattern going down. And what's happening next is you're going to all of a sudden see this circular mask that is essentially revealing the next scene here that we have, which is the nature scene. Now, one thing that I want to point out is this is another issue that students have when they're creating this one. So I'm going to address it right now, and I'll repeat it a little bit later when we're doing this. But there's this animation is continuing. These butterflies never stop anywhere. It's almost like they're going to, you can just assume that these icons are going to continue migrating down to Central America towards South America right here, because they're still animating when this scene is revealed, right? And so making sure that that animation doesn't stop before this scene is revealed is very important. So timing will be important when it comes to these two scenes. And then in the scene, we have this kaleidoscope of butterflies. Now, they're not only flapping their wings, but you notice that they're kind of tipping back and forth and going like in this different pattern. It's the same butterfly that is just duplicated multiple times, and then you offset those layers, and we're going to change the scale of some of them as well. So we're going to learn how to do that. The other thing that you notice here is that we have obviously a more complex looking background. So we have mountain range, we have a sunset happening or a sunrise, we have clouds here in the background. When it comes to the background for this kaleidoscope scene in particular, you can pick a North American landscape scene is what I'd like to tell students. So I've had students do mountain ranges with some trees. I've had them do something more like this, just like plain old mountain ranges. I've also had a student do an Arizona scene, because we do see monarch butterfly migration patterns through Arizona. And so they had like a whole cactus sunset scene, which was really, really cool. It was something that I wasn't expecting. So the biggest thing here is that there's animation beyond just the butterflies. So if I play at normal speed, you're going to notice that the clouds are just moving across the scene.
To travel thousands of miles.
In this one, I would probably add maybe the sun's rising or setting or something like that. And we could even animate the gradient if you wanted to. But it's just very subtle animations that are layered in the scene that just kind of help to build out the scene, right? It just shows that there's like some kind of wind pattern happening here. And so you guys can kind of pick more of your nature scene, but I want it to be a North American nature looking scene, right? You can even be like something around Mexico. I don't think they're really tropical scenes, so stick with something more like central to North America, like the central part of North America and stuff. So mountainous ranges. I know you see monarch butterflies in Michigan. You see them East Coast kind of too. I don't think you see them necessarily on the coastal states, but you see them really in like central Midwest United States, center part of Mexico as well. Hey Aaron, how you doing? Welcome to class. One second here. Aaron, your robot arm was super cool, by the way. I love that it was like on a stand. That was neat. Didn't have to animate in the scene. It just was like on this really cool stand. Great color combinations too, which I enjoyed. But you did a good job on that. I thought it was cool. So yeah, and then back to this, what's happening afterwards is this kind of fading, blurring that is going to the credits scene, which is going to be animation and then your name, not Casey Farina. Obviously, that's Dr. Casey Farina's video that he's done in the past. And so you will want this to be your name here. This is animating positions, opposite from one side to the other. Also, there's like layered animation to the text, right? So it's not only revealing, it's fading on by character, which we've talked about, we've done, but it's also animating in position as well. So you guys can do something cool with this text animation if you want to. I just want it to, you know, be your information, animation by, or just animation and then your name. So, now that we've gone over that, let's kind of write a list of the things that we're going to need as far as assets for this project. Yeah, awesome. I'm happy that you're in the stream. Yeah, cool. Oh yeah, of course. Like I've checked like, you know, every day, every couple days to see. Sometimes you guys are real quiet in here, and then obviously when I ask you guys to post stuff in here, I love to see the work that you guys are producing, and I've seen some really cool stuff. So, kudos to you guys on that. But yeah, that the color combination of yours is very solid. And it's just there's something about that blue and that yellow, just the tones of them that really look good together. So good eye on that. And then I'll obviously give you guys notes on animations and stuff, but it was really neat. Cool. And then the follow through on that was really solid. Nice. All right, I'm going to close that and we'll get back to this one. I am going to open up, actually, let's do this in Miro because we don't use Miro all the time, and this will be great to have for you guys. Oh yeah, of course it's going to do that. Let me pull this over to the side. This will be great for you guys to reference later. You guys won't have to maybe take the notes. You can just have it here. But if you want to take the notes, I suggest you do. So let me go here, check my email, verify. Yes, it's me. Let me in. I'm the one that owns it, sucker. Cool. Okay. Art 184. Neato. Okay. Let's bring this back over. And tell me about, design. There. I don't know why this needs this X out. Cool. Okay. Let's zoom in here. Let's maybe move over here. I literally hate this monitor that I'm on because the whites are so blown out on it. I can't see the edges of I can't see the edges of the frame. I can barely see them. So I have to look here to see them. Okay. Let's enter in text. And right here, let's type Monarch 3 scene animation. Well, Monarch 3 scene asset list, right? I think I actually have it typed up for you guys. Let's double check though. I'm gonna bold that. Let's see if we can turn it into our title. Increase the size. 36 is great. Sure. Now let's enter a new text box. You can just hit T if you want to, but I'm going to do this. And I'm going to drop the size down to 18 is fine, and we'll do a list. Okay, so when we're looking at this, we need to create, obviously, a butterfly. Let me see if I did write this list down. I don't think I did. Okay, yeah. You'll need to illustrate the following body parts. Okay, so I already did this. But this is great to have for Miro, just in case. I'm going to go over this, copy this, paste it here, so you guys can see this. This doesn't have to be bolded. What are you thinking? Unbold. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to line these up. There we go. Cool. So we have the top view of the butterfly, which is the asset that we're going to double use, right? So it's not only here, but it is also used here as well. We have the illustration of the United States, or North America, not just the United States, but North America, which I provided to you guys as an Illustrator file, so it's just easier for you. You also have the butterfly body side view. So which one is that one? That is this illustration right here. So really, we don't have to illustrate. We just have to take the wing that we created from this one, and we're going to reuse it here. So we really only have to illustrate one butterfly. We do, however, have to illustrate the body of the butterfly in like a side view, right? So that's the one that you'll have to add, which, you know, depending on how complicated your guys's is, might be a little bit more difficult, but shouldn't be really. And then the other thing is the outdoor scene. So example, mountains, trees, clouds, grass, lake, cactus if you're doing like a southwest view or something like that. Who knows, maybe you're doing tumbleweeds in that if you're doing that, or you know, maybe there's some leaves or something that are also moving around. You can do those as well. So just making sure that you're checking things off of this list when you are creating them. So I go over these techniques inside of Illustrator, obviously, but like I said for you guys, if you, as always, right, because I would like you guys to, I would love you guys to learn how to illustrate in vector. Obviously, that is really important when it comes to animation or design in general. But if you feel more comfortable illustrating in a pixel-based program, you are welcome to do that. But here's a very big tip for you. If you're going to use a different drawing program, please feel free to do so. Just be sure to export a PNG with an alpha channel and make sure each asset is at least 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels so that you have room to scale things, right? And then you also have to create all of these on separate layers that have to be exported out separately as well. So when you're thinking of like the robot arm that you made, right? If you created that in Photoshop or like Procreate or some kind of drawing app, that you use that's different, you'll have to export, for instance, with this butterfly, the wing has to be separate, the body has to be a separate PNG, anything that's going to animate on screen has to be a separate PNG with a transparent background. So keeping that all in mind, right? Another program that I've been trying to learn is Adobe Fresco, which should also be included with your guys's Adobe student licensing. And what that is it's an application that you can use for iPads. I don't know if you can use it for any other kind of tablet, but I know for sure it works on iPads. And it works in not only vector based, but it also works with pixels as well. So you can switch within one singular app. And I didn't know that until my next door neighbor who's likes to illustrate was talking about it, and I was like, no way. And I tried it out and I was like, powerful. So that's a really cool application if you guys want to look into it. It's again called Adobe Fresco, and so you can work with both pixel and so raster based and vector based. Really powerful stuff, cool stuff there. So yeah, that's what you guys need to know about that. Let's open up Illustrator and start creating something. All right. Huh. So I'm going to create a new file here, and it's going to be film and video, 1920 1080, landscape orientation here, RGB color, screen 72 pixels, perfect. automatically does that for you with the film and video setting right here if you find it. And it is going to be just kind of like this empty space, which is fine. You don't need to create the backgrounds in here because we can do that inside of, well, like you don't have to create this background in here, okay, because that's just going to be a solid later inside of After Effects. You will, however, have to create this background inside of, you could do this inside of After Effects, but After Effects isn't, you know, a native drawing app, so this is just much faster to do inside of Adobe Illustrator. So I had looked up a, let's find like a, I had a, hi, little Minerva. I had an image. Hi, little one. You want to come say hello? You've been bugging me this whole time. You want to say hello to everyone? Say hello. See, I'm camera shy, so I like to stay off camera, but hello, I'm a fluffy little munchkin, and I cause chaos off screen. There you go, baby. But she, like, paws at my leg while I'm working, and, it's distracting in the cutest way, to say the least, but still distracting. I had this, but I don't think I'm going to use this because this is already someone else's illustration. So we're going to remove that. I didn't realize that. I just kind of was like, oh, cool, download. Monarch butterfly. Images. I am going to probably, that looks like it's illustrated. Oh no, this is an actual photo. Cool, that works. Let's do this one. So I'm just gonna right click, save image, and go here, and under assets, images, I'll save that there. She is a cutie, and she's also naughty at the same time. So one of them, she paws at my legs and plays with things in the background. My other cat, Seamus, chews on my headphone cord, like, because I use a corded headphone or cable on my headphones for editing and stuff, because they just work better. There's no, like, delay or anything, and he likes to try and chew on that or play with it. Pets are so cute, and they're so naughty. Okay, so I'm going to, let's close this out. Let's bring in that image file. We're going to place this image directly into our Illustrator file, and then I'm going to save this Illustrator file right away. So 3-scene Monarch, assets, images. So let's grab this one. I don't want to link it. I just want to place it in here so that it doesn't have to be, like, if I move this, it's not going to matter because it's in the actual project. I'm going to make it smaller here, holding down shift and just grabbing the side, and then maybe I'll push this off to the side because it is just a reference. I'm going to relabel this reference. I can delete it later if I want to, but I'm just going to lock that layer. And then I'm going to create a new layer. And let's save this file before I do anything. 3-scene, go to assets, go to vector, and I'm going to say Monarch butterfly. Yes. Yes, little one. And save this here. And the first thing, let's create, let's put a layer that says wing. And then I'm going to create another layer that says body top view. And then body side view. Because I can use the same file and just bring in or shut off certain layers inside of After Effects, right? So I don't have like a ton of different files here since we're really only creating the illustration of the butterfly, mostly in the top view, and the only thing that's going to be different is the side body. Why create a separate file for that. I just think that you can add it into this singular file, and then it's just a little bit of a cleaner work. You know, you just turn that layer on or off or bring it into your composition, whether that works or not. Now, a couple things we're going to do right now. We're going to have some demonstrations here. Let me add a new layer where I can just kind of bring this stuff onto it. If I draw on the wrong layer, which I did, over here you can see that I drew on the body side view layer, and I want it to now be on this layer, right? So the thing that I'm going to do is with this image selected, or the shape that I just created, I'm just going to grab this little thing right here and drag it up to this layer, and then it will move that object onto this new layer here. And let's just change the color so it's more interesting and not boring. Let's go with like some kind of magenta color. Cool. Right there. Is that easy to see for you guys? Cool. And then I'm going to bring this over, and this one is going to be a stroke only. So let's change this one to like, I don't know, like an aqua. Cool, perfect. And then I'm going to go over here to my stroke settings and just increase the line weight of that stroke. Probably 16 points will be thick enough to see this. Cool. Now, you guys can work with a background on here. Maybe I will do that so you guys can see this stuff right now. I'm just gonna BG, and it just might help you guys with seeing stuff in general. And I'm just gonna single click with grabbing that rectangle shape. I'm just going to single click, and when you do that, it gives you the option to put in the actual values of the rectangle. And since we're working at a 1920 1080 aspect ratio, or pixel ratio for our, not only for this file but also for After Effects, I can just type in here 1920 by 1080 in this rectangle, which I'll switch to this, and then I'll change it to like a kind of a light gray color here. But it's going to be the size of my canvas, so I can just have that selected and center it, and it's the perfect size. If it doesn't matter to you, you just can draw a rectangle. I'm gonna lock it. So there's a couple different new tools that we can talk about now. I've used you know, in the past it's been called the Pathfinder tool, but now there is a different name for it, and I think this one will be beneficial, is the Shape Builder tool. This one, I've loved it since they've brought it like out. The Pathfinder tool can, you know, is more of like an outdated version of this, and the Shape Builder tool is just much more intuitive to work with. But you essentially layer shapes over each other, and you drag this over, and it will create new shapes for you. So if I had, for instance, created a rectangle that is, let me just pull up this thing right here so I can click it, maybe a green rectangle, and I draw that right here. Where are we at? Cool, we're on the right layer, and I just bring that to the center here, and I select both of them by clicking and dragging over, and then I select that Shape Builder tool. You can also hit Shift and M as in Mary, and what you do is you can just click over here and click on this one, and it separates these objects. So then all of a sudden, if I click off and I grab this and drag it out, now we have like this different path, right? So the power of that one is pretty fun to do. That one is helpful if you're creating shapes like these clouds in particular, right? So if you're putting clouds into your background on your nature scene, right, I can just create a circle and hold down Alt and just click and drag and move circles around here, and maybe shift and scale them down and move them like this, and kind of create this cloud shape here where, you know, you don't have to hold down Shift. It doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe some things aren't perfect because nothing's ever perfect, right? This is more of like obviously a illustrated view of this. I'm going to grab this one and bring this back here so it's my default one so I don't mess it up. And then I'm going to select all of these circles that I created, and notice there's a bunch of paths and stuff connecting. Instead of grouping that together, I'm going to hit that Shift M, which is that shape builder tool. Notice if I just kind of hover over here, you get that like little kind of hashed mark gridded like visual that appears, and that's just showing you which part it's like sections off, right? So if I wanted to click this separate, it would, and then I hit V and I could just kind of separate that from here, and then also this shape would still be separate, so you would have that. So you can really kind of create some crazy looking things. But if I wanted this to all be one singular shape and fused together, I would hit that Shift M and I would just kind of drag it across all of these lines here, making sure that all of this red that might be showing, there's a tiny bit there and there. You know, color over it essentially is what I color mouse over it. And then if I just hit V, I have one singular path, one shape. If I wanted to see the anchor or the little points around it, I would just go to my direct selection tool, which is also A on your keyboard. And you can zoom in and see all of these tiny little path anchors, which I can then grab and manipulate if I want to. But instead of a ton of different path anchors and stuff here, you have you know, one singular shape, which is simplified as far as the paths go. So I'm going to delete that. Now, another tool, let's talk about a couple other tools that we can use here. There's a couple tools that Dr. Farina especially talks about in his illustrating thing here, using the curvature tool. I don't use that. And the width tool I've used, the eraser I've used in the past. Let's kind of talk about those tools a little bit more. So the eraser tool, if I grab that over here, it is also just Shift E on your keyboard. If you look right here on these little animated videos that show you kind of what it does. So you will grab the eraser, and in order to make the eraser larger or smaller, you can hit the square brackets on your keyboard. So the open square bracket will make it smaller, and the closed square bracket will make this larger. And if I just hold it down, it'll change that, right? So if I take this and I click and start dragging around the edge or the path of the original circular shape here, right? Notice if I go like this as well, and I let go, it is going to modify the path that was originally created. Now, I want you guys to notice a couple things, right? So when I look over here, you know, you still get kind of these hard edges, which if you hit A on your keyboard, you can grab some of these anchor points and you can maybe curve them out a little bit more. It makes it a little bit more complicated, right? So now all of a sudden we have a ton of different anchors or anchor points or vertices on our path here. So maybe I'd want to simplify this, right? So I could hit V on my keyboard and I can right click and I can just go to simplify. And if you drag this up or down, it will simplify how many vertices are on that shape, right? So if I want less, I'm going to drag this to the left. And if I want more vertices and more detail, I'm going to drag that over to the right. And then all of a sudden, look, like if I grab this and hit A, you can see all the original ones that were here. But if I right click, simplify, and drag this all the way to there, and it says 6 points, if I were to select this now, you see only 6 different vertices here. So that's, you know, something that can be helpful for you. The other thing that you guys notice is when I disconnected that path by erasing, right? If I hit Shift E again and I make this much smaller and I click and drag across this top shape right here. First of all, you have to have the shape selected. You cannot just make changes without having that shape selected. It won't actually work. The eraser won't work. So I go back to Shift E with this little shape selected. And if I split this shape in half with my eraser and let go, it is going to create two separate shapes for me. So really neat way to create, quick way to create, specifically in the Monarch butterfly. Let's go to the beginning here. These shapes, right? These orange, kind of organic looking patterns that are inside of the Monarch butterfly, right? So if I had an entire wing that was this color, I could just go through with my eraser tool and kind of separate some of these little shapes out. I could create the shape initially with the pen and then just fine tune it to give it more of this organic look. And then maybe selecting each one of those separate shapes and right clicking and simplifying them so they're not, they don't really have hard edges here. The other thing that we can do, so let me select off of that. Let me go back here. Let's, notice there's another little path right here. I would have to erase or undo. I'm just going to, shift, go back. There we go to this initial shape here. And let's kind of talk about the, the eraser tool will work on a stroke path as well. That's what I want to say first. So if I hit Shift E and I grab this and do this here, it will also separate on a stroke. Now the difference is here it's created two separate paths, but it just closes these paths for you, right? And so that's another option that you guys have to work with, are using strokes as well, because this does not have a fill on it. If I bring this over top of the circle, you can tell that, the pink circle. Let's go. I actually don't use the eraser tool too often, which I should probably start using a lot more. I don't know why I don't. Makes things much faster. I use the pen tool a lot. So the pen tool, let's go ahead and select that, which is P on your keyboard, allows you to click from different spots and you can create any kind of shape that you want to, right? So here is just some odd shape that I've created. Now, if I want my edges to be smooth and curved, I can click, hold down, and drag, right? And then if I notice that when I move my mouse around here to select a different point on my canvas, that the curved path looks curved, right? It's not straight and angular like when I was creating this one. And so if I click here and then drag some more, you notice that the Bezier handles of these anchor points go out, right? And so I can create more of like some kind of organic shape using this pen tool. And then when you want to finish, you just close your path right there. And if I wanted to update these curves, I can select these anchor points and I can change the Bezier handles like this. If I just click and drag that, if I hold down, what is it, Alt or Control? No, it's Alt. If I hold down Alt and I want to break these Bezier paths from being locked to each other, I can do that. So Alt click allows you to kind of break that path. Notice that when the path comes to like a hard angled edge like this, you will get some weird artifacts. This wouldn't show up in the render, I don't think, but you kind of want to avoid these sharp edges, especially when you're creating something like this butterfly, which is very smooth and natural kind of shape here. So you guys can start seeing, when you look at this, you can start to see where like the eraser tool would come in handy, where maybe the Pathfinder tool would come in handy, those kind of things, or the pen tool in general. So I'm going to delete these weird shapes that I had. Actually, that's kind of neat that I accidentally did, and can show you guys how to do this. So let's say that my path was closed like it was before. Let me do this. Sorry, we have a puppy, and so she's potty training. So my wife is dealing with that today. I know I mentioned that last Thursday's class, and I've been exhausted. Puppies are so much work. I did not know what I was getting into. I've never had one, so it's been a thing. But she's very cute and very sweet, and we're ready to train her. Anywho, So let's say I wanted to delete this section like I did before. If you hit A on your keyboard and you grab any of these anchor points and I just hit delete on my keyboard, it will delete that path section or that anchor point in any paths that maybe shoot off from that anchor point as well. So something to think about if you guys are creating different shapes, just kind of techniques that will be beneficial for you guys in the future. There is the... what else is on here? There is the scissor tool and the knife tool. So the scissor tool is kind of weird. You do have to have a path selected. I don't really like the scissor tool too much, but you can click, I think, on different... what you can do is click on the path in certain areas and it will delete those sections and separate them. So it doesn't look like it did anything right now as I kind of click on these paths. Let me change the color of this. Oh, come on. Let me hit B here. I have to select these again. Let me... come on, yeah? You gonna work? Single click. Don't do that. I think shift click, control click. What's the one I do? I did this just recently. Let me just go to panel options. No. I usually was able to double click on this and change the color of the path. But whatever, either way. So when I was clicking on, let's see if we can do it on here too, because it might show it better. Let's zoom in here. And if I select my object here, hello, and I grab my scissor tool, which again, if you hold down on the eraser tool here and you click on the scissor, you can select that. It's also C, I think, on the keyboard. Let me just double check. Holding down on this tool. Yeah, C. You have to have your path selected and you have to click on the path in order to kind of create, like to use your scissor tool, right? I don't think you can collect and click like this. You can do like that. But what it does is it essentially like separates your object. I'm not a big fan of the scissor tool, to be honest. So like right here, because I clicked up on the path in these two areas, it stopped it. It created two like slivers of the path. I'm going to delete those because I clicked on the path up here and then down here, it created like this separate shape. The only problem is that when I hit A to go to the path, this is an open path right here, and that's not good work. So you would want to select those and right click on this and hit join, and then it will join those paths together so that you have like a completed shape here versus just leaving that kind of open, and you're gonna have issues with open paths in general. And then so when I was clicking on here, what that did is it created separate shapes right here, or it essentially separated the path into different sections. So if I grab my selection tool, not my direct selection tool, and I start grabbing where I clicked with the scissors, you can see that it just cut this line in half. This is great for using if you're working with strokes. I think this is a better tool to use with the strokes, but you can also use the eraser tool because that closes it. But if you wanted to just cut a section off of your path, you can do it using the scissor tool. Now the knife tool does a little bit different. You can cut essentially different shapes out using the knife tool. So if I wanted to cut kind of like this weird circular shape out of this, you can do it like that. And if I hold down V and select, come on, I thought you were going to do it. Let's try it again. Oh, because this isn't a complete path, but it did complete it for me once I did that there. And let's see, it just cuts that shape out of here, which is not bad. Like, interesting, right? If I were to take a path or like just a, let's grab this. Let's join this together, right? So that the path is now completed. So you can do that on a fill, but you can also do it on a stroke. Now with the stroke, using this knife tool is kind of interesting, right? So I'm going to select this object here. I'm going to grab my knife tool, and then I'm going to just kind of create like this weird swirling kind of shape object on here. And when I let go, it creates all these little like sections in here, which I can essentially select and put a fill in if I wanted to, right? So you could change the colors of these and have them all different colors if I wanted to change it on the color picker right up here. And, you know, kind of creates like this interesting looking path and shape. But this is cool. I've seen someone do this on a piece of text, which was really neat. So in order to make text editable inside of, so if I were to create like an R here, and let's make this much bigger than it is. So 72, let's do 200. There we go. These tools will not work on text, okay? Because text is, it's like a glyph, it's a shape, it's not really, it doesn't have like a path around the outside. And if I wanted to edit the path around the outside, what I have to do is I have to right click and you create outlines. It's also Shift Control O. But once you do that, if I were to select this, now it is a shape and it is not text. Okay, so it's not in text format. If you were to bring this into After Effects, it will not allow you to add text animators to it, right? Because now this is considered a shape. If I hit A, it has vertices around it, versus if I were to grab my text tool and type R again and select this and bring this down here and I were to hit A on it, this is the only vertice that you can see right here, and it only allows me to move the text around, right? So if you wanted to make changes to text, you would have to create outlines of that text in the beginning, and then once you do that, you can grab that entire shape and then you can use these different tools on those shapes, right? So now, which is really cool, right, is I can have the ability to change the coloring of this text. So if I were to grab this and change it to like some kind of purple, this is where I thought this tool was really neat, using the scissor tool on here. And you can change, you can kind of create like this stained glass look, I guess, to your text here, right? Neat stuff. I think this is really cool and powerful when it comes to using it with text. All right, let's delete this. Let's go back here. The other thing, oh yeah, one more tool I want to talk to you guys about, which can be useful in this project, is the width tool. Now, these, I'm not only, like, I know we're not drawing the butterfly just yet, because these tools I need to talk to you guys about, because they're not only going to be beneficial here in this project, but moving forward into our next project, they're going to be extremely beneficial as well. And so it's good for you guys to understand how to use these tools in order for you to create your own creative infographic, which we are going to do next. We're going to do, our next project is going to be like a custom 3-scene animation where I'll go over that obviously later, but you guys will have freedom to pick your topic a little bit more, and we'll have some guidelines to what kind of topics you can pick, but this will be beneficial for when you guys have to create your own scenes, right? The other one is the width tool. That one is, where are you at? That's not it. That's a shaper tool. It is, yes, right here. Shift W. You can also find all of these tools if you just kind of click and hold down on the little tools that have the triangles on there. Like I've said before, you will be able to grab these tools right here, right? And so now with this width tool, if I click on the path and I drag either inwards or outwards, like if I drag outwards, I can change the width of the the stroke essentially, right? So I can go like this and make that wide there. If I wanted to make this one, if I'm like, oh, I like it wide there, but right here I want to add another one and make it small and taper that line, you can do this here. Okay. So, actually, let's see if that translates into, I think this translates just fine into After Effects. I don't think you have an issue bringing that into there. So if I were to save this and go into After Effects here, and I went into my assets folder and I created a new folder that said AI or vector. I think that will be better for you guys. And we import the illustration that we're doing right now. So go into assets, under vector, grab that Monarch butterfly, make sure that your composition retain layer sizes, big thing right there, making sure that it's under that selection and not under footage, right? And then I'm going to hit import here, and it's going to create a separate comp, which I actually will use later. So I'm going to bring that into my comps. But my layers here, if I bring this comp down, and we look at it, the width tool works just fine, right? Cool. So that is a thing. So now if I update this, let me delete this because I don't need that. I've got this all brought in there. If I update anything in my Illustrator file, it's dynamically linked, so you don't have to worry about it. If I delete this stuff, it will translate over into that project as well. It might keep the layer on there, but you can always delete that layer off. So I'm going to delete this. Yeah, I want to delete it. I'll keep the background on right now, but let's start drawing these wings. So I'm going to hit V on my keyboard, and I'm going to select this reference. So I want to unlock it. I'm going to grab it. I'm actually going to rotate it so I can get more of a perfect kind of view on here. I'll bring that in. Maybe we'll just kind of trace over the wing shape. There we go. That's not bad. Yeah, let's do that. Let's kind of trace over this wing shape to make it a little bit quicker right now. I'm probably going to use, for the wing shape, the pen tool right away. And I'm going to go to the wing right here. And let's start with, obviously we're going to do a fill. I don't think we're going to do a stroke. I could color pick that orange, or I can just kind of find one that looks similar. I like this deep orange. It's very red, so I'm going to drop this down here. Kind of try and match that there. You can hit I on your keyboard, which will bring up the color picker here inside of Illustrator. And I'm just going to start kind of drawing this wing, the top part of the wing, and not the bottom section. I'll leave that one separate. So I'm going to, let's go here, kind of click, and I'm going to create kind of like this rounded thing. I want to go to, notice what happens if I just click and drag here. When you're using the pen tool, what happens inside of Illustrator is if you click and drag and create it as a rounded path, the computer's going to guess and make it equal on the other side of that path. So the section that you haven't drawn yet, right? And so it's just guessing, like, based on the curvature of the path that I've already created, what type of curvature would be really smooth for the next one. Well, I don't want it to anticipate that. I want to have a little bit more control over the angle of that next path. And so what I'm going to do is I hit undo there, and I'm going to click and drag to make that kind of like rounded shape. But then before I let go, I'm going to hold down Alt, which allows me to break this Bezier handle here and decide where I want that path to, what direction I want that path to go into next. And so when I do that, it's going to go more along the lines of here. And when I'm using the Bezier curves, when working with the pen tool, I like to pick out points on the shape, especially since right here I am kind of tracing around the shape of the butterfly wing. I'm looking for kind of points that either stick out really far or go in, like peaks and valleys of the shape. You can go through and be very detailed on this if you want to, but I'm actually going to I'm going to create kind of like a generalized shape, and then I'm going to go through with my eraser tool to get kind of that sawtooth or waved edge around the wing that you see here. So right now I don't need it to be perfect. I just need it to be in the general shape of what I want. So I'm going to click up here to that, and then I'm going to kind of drag over this way so I can see that my curve along this side is right. Now, I can undo that if I want to, but it doesn't have to be perfect here. I'm just going to keep the curvature of this one that it did next. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over probably to right here, and then I'm going to click and drag that up so I get this nice curving shape along the top. And I probably don't need this to be so curved here, but I will fix that later. And I'm just going to kind of click around close to like maybe where this anchor point is, right down here. It'll intersect for you if you have the locking on. And then I'm just going to click this to close it. But before I do that, I'm going to round this section off here. So we kind of get this, if I hit V on my keyboard, I have like this semi-looking wing that kind of fits around here, right? There's a couple things around this that I want to adjust real quick, and that is this part right here. So there's more of like a sharp edge that was created just because I closed this path, and this path when I started was just a hard edge. So I know I just pointed my fingers together like this because when you're looking at some of the path tools, it's like, do you want it like this? When you think of like Cinema 4D when we're working in it and it's asking you how you want the curve of your graph line, right? It's like, do you want it linear like this, or do you want it curved like this? And then it gives you the option of like a curved line or a linear line. So right now, when you just click using the pen tool and you're like, just click on different points, you get more of like this hard angled linear shape, and I want to change that on this section right here. So I'm just going to hit A and select this little path, and I'm going to zoom in here on my keyboard, and I'm actually going to it actually shows it right up here. So if I were to click that linear one, that's what created right there. I want to undo that, and I actually want to click on that rounded shape right there, and then I can just grab this Bezier handle on the side by clicking this little path right there, and maybe just make it a little bit more of a subtle wing shape at the bottom, or like more of a subtle curve there. And then that's not bad. I'm going to select on this one. I'm going to select this again up here. When you select on separate anchor, when you're in, first of all, here's the selection tool. Here's the direct selection tool. Again, if you guys don't know, this one is V on your keyboard. This one is A on your keyboard. This one allows you to select your points. Okay. Just so you're aware. And then these are what I'm hitting up here. Convert it to either like a linear, a hard edge, or a curved Bezier handle, right? And so I just selected that one down there, and I'm going to hit curved Bezier handle on there, and it gives me more of like this curved shape. It kind of auto does it based on mathematics, from where the one curve is to the other one. And I'm just going to smooth that out a little bit. Looks very nice. I'm going to grab this one here. Maybe I want to just shorten this a little bit more. If you shorten it, it straightens your curve out, if you notice that. So I'm going to bring this one up a little bit more, just so it's general. Bring that around. Get this nice rounded looking shape. I'm going to hit V on my keyboard. We're going to go back here. And now I'm going to create kind of this bottom shape. So on the same layer, I'm just going to grab my pen tool, and I'm going to start up here this time. And I'm just going to grab this part right there. I'm going to click that. I'm going to go to right about here in the center of the wing, and I'm just going to make it rounded. And I'm going to go over here and do the same. Click there. I probably wanted to click and drag a little bit more, so maybe not as much. click and kind of drag over here. And then I want to click here. And it's going to give me like this weird shape like that. I'm going to hit A on my keyboard. Let's zoom in. We're going to fix that shape. I guess I don't have to zoom in that high. I'm just going to, holding down Alt, grab, oh, wrong one. Let's select that again. Holding down Alt, I'm just going to drag that back, right? Because that's going to break my Bezier handle when I hold down that Alt. And that allows me to just kind of bring that part back down. And then this anchor point right there, I am going to grab this rounded tool and kind of round that out. So it's nice and smooth curve happening right there. And I'm probably going to do it again. I'm going to change this one a little bit more. Notice that sometimes when you go and when you put your handle and you're in your direct selection tool and you select the path and not a vertice, right? You get this kind of little, here, let me do it over here. You get this like little option that looks like a tiny little telephone. And if you click that, you can kind of update your curve as well this way, which is a little bit different. And I have a cat that's getting sick over here. Let me shut this down. All right, you guys. Oh, hairball. Sorry. I'm so sorry that happened on the live stream. I was not expecting that. She's such a dingus. Let me I had to mute my mic because that is gross. If you guys have cats, you know what it sounds like. I am going to put a pause to the live stream real quick and I am going to clean this up. So I'm just going to shut my camera off. Guys, take a 15-minute, 10-minute break here. I'm going to clean that stuff up. I know it's really gross. And then we're going to get back to drawing this, illustrating here inside of Illustrators. I'm so sorry. BRB, okay? All right, you guys. Thank you for giving me a break and letting me do that. All I keep saying is Erin's comment of she's so cute. You guys just got a view of what it was owning her. So I've created this shape, these two shapes of this butterfly wing. And I'm going to put those together. I'm actually going to move my reference. We're just kind of getting right back into it. I'm going to move my reference over to the side here. And, oh, come on. Going like this. Moving that over to the side. I can see the coloration there. Maybe what I want to do is make this part of my curveless, or like this joining part a little more subtle. So I'm just going to select that anchor point and then click that there. And I think this looks really nice. I think this much better. Let me select this anchor point right here. Maybe adjust the curve a little bit to fit this section of the wing. Maybe this one right here. I'm going to bring it out like this and make it just a little bit more round, just kind of keeping an eye on the general shape. It doesn't have to be perfect for the butterfly wing, but it should be obviously like a monarch looking wing. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to hit V on here. I'm going to, let's move this back up a little bit more. Maybe over. This one's obviously below the top wing. So I'm going to, since they're on the same layer, I'm going to change the arrangement of my wing. So I want this shape right here to be underneath this shape. And so I'm just going to hit Shift Control and close square bracket or open square bracket. And I believe that puts that shape on the bottom there. Let me just right click. You can also go to Arrange and then send to back. There we go. And it will be there for you. It'll be behind. And the next thing that I want to do is we want to kind of add, let's duplicate these wings. How do we want to do this? Actually, let me think about it real quick. Before I do that, let's kind of get this edge down with that eraser tool. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select that eraser tool. And I'm going to zoom into my wing a little bit. And I want to select just this section, hitting V, selecting it, then going back to the eraser tool. And I'm just going to kind of start here and just kind of put a little bit of these kind of rounded shapes, giving it that more wavy kind of edge to it, which is what it looks more like here. Like when we look at this, it's more kind of wavy. This isn't the amazing looking, but it's also not terrible. Shift E, go back to that eraser. I'm going to kind of curve this part back off. Maybe I want to select it again and do that. And then I'm going to do it to the bottom here. So I'm going to hit V, select this one, because I only want to be changing out in this one right now. Hit Shift E, and then I'm going to kind of start up here and just go kind of like this, right? There we go. Maybe I want to change this section a little bit more. Like that. That looks kind of neat. I'm going to, if I want to update specific individual, like this one right here, I don't like this, there's this like gap thing right here. I zoom in a lot. And I bring this over here. I don't like this part where it's like a hard edge right there. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this one and just kind of drag it to meet that one. So they almost look like they are meant to kind of fit together. And the other thing that I want to do is I want to grab some of these hard edges and round these off a little bit more. So going through here, grabbing this one, rounding it, this one, doing the same, Let's round it a little bit more. Coming around here. This one right up there. Let's round that one. Perfect. Let's zoom out a little bit more. That looks a little bit more cool. And then we're going to do the same to this wing right here. So I'm going to zoom in. Again, zooming, I'm just using Control plus or minus. You can also, there's a different way to zoom. You can also hit Z on your keyboard and just click and drag onto a specific spot, and it will allow you to zoom in as well. So you can use your zoom however you want to. I am going to do that, and I'm going to hit A. I'm going to select all 3 of these points right here just by clicking and dragging, and then I'm going to hit that button to round them out. Holding down spacebar allows you to select the hand tool, which allows you to kind of move around like this. Just clicking and dragging and moving around your canvas. So benefit there. I'm going to round this one off as well. Beautiful. Now if I zoom out, I've got this really cool natural looking edge to my butterfly wing. That is more closely related looking to a monarch butterfly. I mean, it's not perfect, but I'm not looking for perfection. Obviously, butterflies are like snowflakes. They're all a little bit different, right? So mine's a little edgier, but in general, it looks the same. So the next thing that I want to do is we notice that the border around here is actually black. And the only orange sections are really these parts right here. So I'm going to duplicate these sections of the wings. And we are going to use maybe the Pathfinder tool to create these little sections in here. Maybe the eraser tool if we can. But I want this to actually be kind of, I want it to be black first. So I'm actually going to change it back from the that orange color to like a very, like kind of a black. I don't want to go full black, but like a really deep looking gray, black, like kind of just down in this area right there. I think that's a cool color. I'm going to hit OK because this is essentially going to be the outside of it. So I like that. And the first thing I'm going to do is select the top wing, and I'm going to hit Control C to copy, and then Shift Control V, which is going to paste it in place on top of that. And I'm going to hit making sure without moving it is where I'm going to kind of change the color of it. So let me, and I if you look at here, it's kind of like this gradient color, right? From this pretty yellowish orange color, like the Spanish orange, to this more of like a deeper red orange look. So let's see if we can get that here. We're going to actually do a gradient fill, and we are going to pick, let's zoom out here a little bit more. And I'm going to select this black gradient slider over here and grab there's a little color picker directly on here. If you hit I, it's not going to work when you're working with a gradient. It only works with solid fill colors. So when you're updating the gradient and you want to change a specific color, you're going to select that little color here. If you want to add more colors, you just click off of here and it will add more colors. If you want to delete them, you just click and drag off of the gradient bar and it will delete them. But I want to change this black to more of that Spanish or that like deep red orange color. So I'm going to select that there. And in fact, I am going to make that darker by double clicking on the color and just changing the brightness down to like more on the black. And then let's kind of shift the hue more to a red color, and we'll keep like medium saturation. Let's bring it right about there. That's not bad. And then this color right here, we're going to pick as like a yellowish Spanish orange kind of color. So right down here, that's actually kind of perfect. And in fact, I'm going to add another color in the center, which is going to be this color. And then I want this one to just be much more saturated, deeper orange here. So I'm going to go all the way to the saturation. Let's increase that right there. And I think that looks really nice. All right, perfect. And the next thing I want to do is I want to change where my gradient maybe is. So you can grab the gradient edge here. So there's a couple ways of doing this, right? Like if I wanted to switch the sides of the gradient. So if I wanted the darker orange to be here and like that lighter orange to be on this side, I can do it with one of two ways. I can click and drag these little colors here, to the opposite sides on the gradient bar, just making sure that you keep them on the bar, right? Like this. And maybe I want to take this orange and kind of bring it more up. Right, this one. Or bring it more down so we're less of this yellow right here. And the other thing that you can do is you can, if you bring your mouse over to the edge of the gradient, it'll give you like the option to grab it and to change where that gradient is in your shape. Or you can, it'll show like a little rotation guy and you can rotate the way that the gradient is, which is what I'm going to do here because the lighter orange goes in more towards the, oh, come on here. It goes in more towards the, let's see, let's move this gradient back up. Undo that. Sometimes working with these gradients is a pain. You can do, this is the linear gradient, which I'm using right now. There's a couple different gradients that you can use. The freeform gradient isn't bad. Sometimes that has a little bit more trouble importing into After Effects, so just so you guys are aware about that. But I'm just going to increase, I'm just going to take the rotation and bring that down a little bit more. And then I'm going to just kind of bring this here up. Maybe bring this little diamond on the gradient bar allows you to change kind of where the gradient between the two colors, wherever that little diamond is, between those two colors, it allows you to kind of shift and smooth that color out. Like if I want this orange to be further down here, I'll just take this little diamond and drag it down further towards the yellow. And what it does is it makes a harder edge, right? But it also gives you more of like a smooth fade to the next color. So that's kind of what I'm going to do here. And then I'm going to drag this down here and this a little bit kind of in between there is fine because it gives like an even fade. And then I'm going to grab, now that I've got that in, I'm going to save it. I've just been randomly saving it as needed. And I'm going to start to kind of create these shapes that are right in here. And I can do that using the eraser tool if I want to. So maybe make a larger eraser using the open and square close brackets and kind of starting like, you know, you see this black edge right here. So maybe I just go kind of around like this and separate this area and kind of go in like this. So we're going to have some separated spots, which we'll delete later, right? And so we've got like this section that maybe kind of looks like that. Maybe I'm going to go down a little bit more and go like this. And then maybe I want to keep a little bit of it up here. So maybe I'm going to come around here and just kind of start erasing some of this, but not all of it. Like that. I'm going to erase all of this. I don't need that. And then maybe I'm going to grab this section right there and bring this up a little bit more so that it's not perfectly in alignment with this at the bottom. Maybe bring that down a little bit so we kind of have like these little areas. And then I'm going to grab this again. Let me Shift E, grab my eraser tool and make it much smaller. Actually, let me simplify this first. So I'm going to right click and simplify. And let's bring this down from 9 points maybe to 5, which looks really nice there. Let me do the same here. So I'm going to right click and simplify. Maybe drag that down a little bit more and I'll simplify that shape. And go in here now, Shift E, grab that eraser, make it quite a bit smaller, right? Because we have not hitting plus or minus, I'm sorry, Shift E, and then hitting the close square bracket. And then it looks like one of the shapes is kind of, so we have one that kind of goes off and more towards the center there. So maybe we just do that, right? Oh, that did not work the way I wanted to because I grabbed the wrong thing. So grabbing this and then hitting Shift E. There we go. Okay, so kind of go like this. Right, and then we can separate these ones off, so maybe like that. And something more, I guess, skinnier wood right there. Maybe this one goes a little bit wider, but it goes over like this. We have a little bit of a wider section here. Maybe we kind of clear this, round it out, and go more like this. And tighten this one up a little bit. Maybe we could have, actually, let me undo that and just kind of clean this area up and make it a little bit wider. There. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of how it looks. I'd probably maybe want to adjust this area, actually make it wider this way. So let me do this. Undo that one. And just kind of looking at it right now, that goes through that way. It does kind of go like this. So maybe though I want to make this section a little bit wider right there. So that, and then round it off, right? And then we go like this. Maybe into like that, and maybe make a little bit wider right here. So just kind of going through and illustrating your, they kind of go into like these little peak areas. I would probably play around more with this, like if we had more time, but this isn't terrible right now. I'm going to Shift E, clean this up a little bit. Right around here. I'd probably simplify these shapes a little bit more. This one, I'm going to go around. Oh, let me grab this shape, Shift E, kind of clear that right there. And maybe this one's like this shape is more rounded. It's more difficult, obviously, if you're using a pencil, or I'm sorry, like a mouse. Easier to use with like tablet or something if you guys can do that. See, wing here. There's a lot of these. Let me grab all of these. I would probably simplify their paths. Right click, simplify. Cool, let's drop it down to like there. That looks not bad. I'm going to actually drag these inwards more. Select, Shift. Maybe bring these in a little bit more. And rotate them. And maybe bring them up this way. And then also this area too. I might just click. Obviously, I'm going to click on these. Right click, simplify. Let's bring that down. 44 points right there probably is fine. Cool. And then I'm going to actually group these together. So I'm going to grab them again and just hit group under here so that I can move them kind of up a little bit. Actually, instead of moving them up, what I want to do is I want to scale it a little bit larger right there, and then maybe turn it slightly like this. And as long as I'm not going over this path right here, right, so I can move this down and kind of see where this is ending up. That looks neat. Maybe I want to bring it over a little bit more this way. Right, because we're getting, at this point, we're kind of encroaching on this. which we can grab all of these and also group and making them a little bit smaller. So, and maybe we rotate this a little bit more. So it goes in like this and drag it over a little bit closer to here. Right? And now we have to start kind of adding these little splotchy parts here. So this might be good to just grab an ellipse tool and get some kind of, I would probably actually first change these colors, ungroup these, and start updating some of these colors to like this lighter, maybe yellowish. I would maybe go a little less yellow and drag that down more into like an lighter orange, which looks nice. Okay, we'll do that. And maybe this one, you know, because you want to have like different gradients of this. So maybe this one and this one are the same color, but the other two are still rather dark. Maybe this one and this one I'll grab and I will change them to a solid color, and we'll pick kind of just a little bit lighter version of that. Go more into the yellows. Okay. So they're slightly different, but not too different. Right? And then I am going to actually pick like a really light white, almost white, kind of like an off orange, and then start creating these tiny little ellipses right here. You don't want them to all be perfect, so maybe changing the sizes. Maybe you got multiple that are right next to each other. They don't have to be perfect circles. Fitting them kind of in here. Undo that. Going like this. Like these ones. And just kind of working your way down the wing. And we're going to use the eraser tool on these guys. So I'm going to hit V on my keyboard. You can either create these. It might be easier just to use a pen tool too, which is also an option, right? If you feel more comfortable with that, just use whatever you're comfortable with and fastest with, right? That's the biggest thing. So I'm going to kind of come in here and just kind of start creating these interesting little shapes. The thing is when you use the eraser tool, you have to keep selecting and deselecting things. Maybe I just want to do a little bit like this. Shift select. Sorry guys. Like I said, I don't use it all the time. V, select, Shift E. Come in here and just kind of make the edges just rough, right? More random. V, grab, Shift E. Come in here. Create that. I'll leave this one a perfect circle. It's got one perfect little spot. I love it. Okay, let's do this. I might add some more in here later, right? Because I don't want a ton of black. The black should be like a decent size, but not all of it should be a lot of black, right? So we're going to do that. We're going to grab this one, Shift E. Using these keyboard shortcuts are going to be a godsend for you guys. Grab this one, Shift E. Perfect there. Grab this one, Shift E. And I'm going to show you guys how to grab a selection a lot quicker than just grabbing them all with the selection tool, which I will show you in just a second. So Shift E. Let me see here. This one. Grab this, Shift E. Move over here. Grab this one, Shift E. And what I would do is, because I need to fill this in a little bit more, I would probably just grab different ones of these. Oops, I did not want to lock that. Undo. Okay. This one I'm going to grab Shift E. Let me just do the edge here. And what I would do is just grab this and hold down Alt and maybe drag it to different spots and do rotations and maybe scale it down. Maybe I'd do the same with this. Alt, drag it over here, scale it down, maybe rotate it a little bit so it's at a different angle. Drop this in. Do the same. You know, maybe I bring it over here and you can't tell. Maybe this one up here comes down here more, and we just rotate it a little bit that way, and maybe this shape up here comes down here a little bit more, and we just hold down Shift and scale it, and then again do a rotation like this. And so just kind of, you don't have to do a ton of stuff. Maybe we bring this one up here. Just doing a handful of them and maybe moving them around and resizing stuff will be beneficial. Maybe make this one kind of small, and if it's maybe right around here, I would maybe take this one, Alt, click drag, right here, make it a little bit smaller, rotate it the opposite way, zoom in a little bit. Going like that, right around here. So on and so forth, right? Until we get kind of like this whole butterfly wing shape. And I would probably bring this back up to here. And what I would do, actually, before I do bring that back up there, I would grab one of these little circle things that I made. And if you go up to select and you go to same, you can select things based off of like their fill color or their stroke color or something like that. So it makes it much easier for you to change all of the same thing if you want to, which is super, it's amazing. So I want to select the same fill color, right? And so I'm going to grab that. And then I want to right click on these and go to simplify. And then we're going to bring these down to like that. And I'm going to hit OK on there, and that's great. And now I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to group it all together, right? So that's all grouped. And then I would continue doing the same thing to this wing as well. So kind of making a similar pattern. Look at this little guy right there. That looks really cool. I would continue doing that with this wing, this bottom section of the wing. And then you're going to want to group these two wings together. And I'm going to save this real quick. And then you'll want to create the body, right? So when creating the body, you'll want to just kind of create the abdomen in two different spots. You see that there's like this kind of rounded shape right there. And the head and the antennas. You don't have to create the feet. We don't need to see the feet, especially for what we're doing. For this assignment specifically. I mean, it doesn't have to be extremely anatomically correct. We're doing like an illustrated version of it, right? So making sure that you have the head and the abdomen, and then the antennas is the one thing you want to have. And the other thing that I would do is I would create actually a separate, so I would do the body. I'll just make a quick one here for you guys to see. So I'll do like the head. Cancel that. I'm gonna grab my ellipse tool again, hitting E. Actually, what is it? L. And create like the little eye. And I'm gonna bring that down a little bit more here. Zoom in, duplicate this, holding down Shift. You can bring that over. And then for the body, I would use just like a pen tool, or I would actually, you know, just a quick one. I could use the rounded rectangle tool and kind of go like this and make like the top part of the abdomen. Maybe it's a little bit wider, and line this up here. And then I want to kind of taper it towards the end. So I would go here towards the which one is it? Yes, under the free transform tool, which is E, you'll get some other options here. And there's one here, which is like a tapering tool. And I'm going to select that. And if I go down to the, if I come down here onto this section of the, when you have your, okay, let me restart what I was going to say. When you have your object selected and you grab like this taper tool or perspective, it's called a perspective distort. I call it tapering. But what you have to do is you have to go, there's these 4 little corners that it creates, and you just click on that one and you're just going to drag that inwards, and it's going to create like a body shape for you. And then I'm actually going to duplicate this, or I'm going to create another one that is more skinny. Here, maybe I add a couple of those little ridges. So maybe I want to taper this first. So the free form distort, which was E, and then grabbing this little perspective tool and then going down a little bit more here. And then what I'm going to do is grab this again and kind of create these little ridges along the tail, right? And I can hit V and bring this up a little bit, and then hit Alt and go down a little bit more. And I'm going to hit Control D over and over again until it gets me to the bottom. In fact, I'm going to delete that last one because I don't want it to be like that at the bottom. And then I'm going to grab, I'm going to shift or just click and drag all of these to select them all. And then to unselect this one, I'm just going to hit Control or Shift and click on it so it unselects this part of the body. And then I want to grab that freeform distort tool again. And I'm going to do the same thing here and kind of taper these down a little bit more so that they go smaller and smaller as they go down the tail. In fact, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so I can have kind of a clear picture of what I'm doing. There we go. That looks better. And so now what you see is these little ridges start out larger and they go smaller and smaller as they go. And then I'm going to just select all of this and group it together and bring this down. Maybe I add some alternate colors so I could actually see like the shape of it. And it's obviously too small. When we look at our example here, we want this to kind of fit to the body a little bit more. So I would probably grab my direct selection tool and grab this here and probably just bring it and drag it to the path. Oh, actually, let me undo that. And I'm going to hit V, grab all of these, and just kind of widen it until it fits more with the body. There we go. Drag it up a little bit more. Not bad. And if I want to, I can grab all of this and make sure they align to the center of each other. Actually, I would probably not grab the eyes. So I would grab all of this and then holding down Shift, just click the eyes to unselect those, and then hit this horizontal center line. And then I would just group the whole body together like this, and making sure that you're doing this on the appropriate layer, right? So body top view is where I just created this. And let's go back here. I'm going to select that. Drag that down. Obviously, this needs to be much bigger to fit the wings, so I'm going to hold down Shift and drag up. And this layer probably would want to go underneath the wings, so I'm going to drag this layer below my wing layer. And I would want to create an antenna, so I'm just going to create an extra layer here and just label this antenna. You can actually do this inside of After Effects too if you wanted to create the antenna in there. But I'm going to change this to a, let's actually swap this to a stroke because I'm going to use the pen tool. And I'm going to double click here and let's maybe change the color a little bit. And I'm just going to grab my pen tool and I'm going to click here. And then I'm going to move out here and I'm just going to kind of create a curved looking line. And I'm going to hit V and that'll just make this a singular like stroke. And I'm just going to go into here and increase the size. Maybe I want to add, yeah, 4 seems okay. But maybe I want it to get a little bit thicker at the bottom and that width tool could come in handy. If I drop this down here, round the edge and grab that width tool, which is Shift W, and zoom in here and grab this here and maybe just increase it a little bit there. Maybe decrease it a little bit here, and it kind of gets that little teardrop edge shape there, which is really neat. So this looks like a really cool antenna. I'm going to go back. And obviously we want the antenna to be below the head. So I'm going to drag that right there. And we'll duplicate these. The cool thing, like I said, is you only have to create one side because we're going to just duplicate it later inside of After Effects. So this is what I want you guys to start working on for today or tomorrow, is really start illustrating your butterfly. When you do the side body view, just make sure you do the side body with the antenna. So you could just duplicate the antenna and just rearrange it to be the appropriate shape. And then making sure you complete your one wing on here. And then the other thing is using these tools to create like some kind of environment, right, for your nature scene. And once you have that all done, you'll be ready for Thursday's class, which we're going to import everything inside of After Effects. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this import that I did of the layers when I was testing it out. Because I made so many changes here, it's just going to be easier for me to start from the beginning once everything is all illustrated, right? So create the Monarch butterfly as the top view, and then just create a side view body. And then the other thing you have to create is the outdoor scene. And once you have that done, like I said, you'll be ready for Thursday's class where we're going to go animate. I'm going to cut this class a little bit short because we've gotten through everything we really need to talk about when it comes to illustrating the butterfly. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask them in Discord, and I'll be happy to try and answer them for you. And other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. And let me know if you need anything, but this is all open. And then we do have another, I did post another participation question, which is due next Monday again. And this one's a little bit different. It's more talking about like decisions you guys have made and stuff. So, all right, guys, any questions before I end the live stream? Any questions in the chat? Are you all good? Let me open this real quick. Move it over here. By the way, if you guys are Lord of the Rings fans, you'll know what this is. This sweet illustration here from a wonderful artist on, what was it? ArtStation, I think I got it from. All right, guys, since I don't have any questions right now, have a good night. I will see you guys on Thursday. We're going to have fun animating this one. It's cool when you can start to put things together and like build out a little story versus just having singular scenes, which, you know, we've been doing, but now we have, you know, the ability to kind of make something a little bit more complex. So yeah, you have a good night, Erin. Jose, I'm sure you're still on there. You have a good night. I will see you guys on Thursday. Bye.